Hello, everyone. The Honest Collector here to give you the truth on the Mafex Batman The Dark Knight Returns Superman figure. And I don't usually do imports, but recently I just decided to pick this up, and I am next going to be covering the black version of the Nightfall Batman. So this figure, I know this came out like 3 years ago or something like that, but I don't know. I still think another review to put out there, another opinion to get before getting something like this, because it's not just a purchase, it's a commitment when you pay $100 for a figure. So I got it on Big Bad Toy Store, and I'll put a link in the description for it below. And taking a look at the box for these figures always kind of seemed like cool looking, and like there was attention to detail, but also at the same time this kind of like simplicity to it. So I thought that was always like interesting. You have the Batman: The Dark Knight Returns, Superman Mafex, odd image to show for the front. I don't think that's the most displayable with the arrow and stuff. On the side, it's a really good image of Superman here. It says the same thing again, and on the back, you get some poses and showing off of the accessories. So that's really nice here. I really do like that. I think this is a cool way to display him. So yeah, then the side you also have another way to show him, which is another really good way. Every way but the front is pretty much the way you want to go. So up there, Batman: The Dark Knight Returns in the same font used for the comic cover. So yeah, enough about the packaging. Let's get on to the figure. And of course, we're going to go over accessories first. Now, unfortunately, I already cannot find the little clear things that hold the hands together. So for some of them we have them, and for some of them we don't. But first off, we do get two punching hands here. We get the just regular relaxed hands, and then what seems like two punching hands, but it's actually for the arrow. And you can see the hole through there, which I'll show you how that works. And then we also have two flight hands, which is really good. And then we have an alternate head sculpt, which is when the arrow releases the kryptonite gas and gives him that like rash bruise on his face, and which is really really cool looking. You could see the hair's more messed up compared to the regular head sculpt here. Here it's a lot more neat. I really like that there. That looks awesome. And I do feel like we're missing one head where he's just either angry without the rash, or a laser eyes head, because I do think that is really necessary with a Superman. So, but we do get these ones here, which it's okay. It's not bad. And then for the arrow itself, it is really nice. It's painted in this really mint green. It's very bright. And then you just detach it like this. Detach it. And then let's say he's going to hold it with this one. They do give you two. You just put it through here like that. Be careful with it at first because it is a little snug. And then you just attach this here. And that's how it looks like he holds the arrow when he stops it. He's actually holding it the wrong way. But that's how it looks when he holds it. It's a very nice snug fit. So that's really good. And then just pulling that back out. Do be careful. It's kind of feels like a toothpick. But yeah, so really good. It is pretty bendy. It's way more bendy than I would like. It's kind of got that snappy. Could snap if you put too much pressure, but so just do be careful. But the sculpt work is nice, and they did a good job on it for a comic panel. And then we do get the usual Mafex stand here, which this is the one I always use, but it does also come with the one that's just friction and two pieces together, not with a screw. And then we do get the just one stand here, one rod, and then to hold them up by the crotch. And then also we do have the two splayed out hands here. This is more of like a push, or kind of like a grabbing by the face. So more like styled hands here like that. So that's really good. I do really like this array of accessories. Again, I do think we're just missing either an angry head or laser eyes head, which would have been really, really cool to see. But now, zooming into this figure here, the figure itself, we do have a really nice head sculpt here. You can see the paintwork on the eyebrows and everything like that, and on the eyes. Really, really well done, very sharp, and just a touch of paint for the face to emphasize his structure, which is really nice. You get the subtle blue in there for the hair, and then a really nice swoop. Very exaggerated, which is really good. I think this is such a nice way to do a modern take on The Dark Knight Returns. Not a modern take, but to kind of put it into a digestible style. This is a really nice way to not overdo it and go super hardcore like the McFarlane, but kind of looking a little more like the comic and a bridge to the animated movie, which is really nice to see. They did a great job. And then just throughout, let's talk about the cape here, because the cape, they also did a really good job. It's a very nice material. It's a little more of a cloth feel to it, not like that microfiber glass, like phone cleaner material that we usually get with the Superman figures from McFarlane. So very nice feel here. You get a bendy wire throughout the entirety of the bottom of the cape, although this is kind of scaring me. I don't want it to poke through. But you get it all throughout the bottom and through the two sides here, which is really nice. So you can kind of, if you don't want the cape to look like too much, you can always just kind of feel it out here and then just align it at the bottom, which looks really good. That looks really nice, and it doesn't look like the cape is too much. It sits a little high, but I think you just got to work with the wires to kind of get it to sit a little more flush like that. But it does kind of shadow up a bit, which I think is kind of odd, but it doesn't look too distracting. The chest is not too separate. It's not too visible, that seam. So it's okay for me. And then we actually do get a decent amount of cape, but not an overdone amount, just enough to where it's like, it's not Batman, but it is definitely a lot. They're offering a lot of cloth here, which I really like, as long as it's not too much like the Hush Batman. I think with this figure and the Batman figure for the same wave, or not wave, but the Dark Knight Returns line, they definitely found that middle ground, which is really good. And then going over the figure itself, there's not a lot of shading on here. Either it's very subtle or it's just shadowing. There's not a lot of shading on it at all. And there's only some on the red parts. For example, the butt, they have some dark red shading there, some soft shading. And then on the ankles as well, which I feel like the light is not doing enough justice. Trying to get some better light, you can see this is more of a darker red. And then you also have the darker red on some of the spots of the ankle here. And then it goes more into a brighter red out here, which is really nice, subtle detail. I do like that. It's not anywhere on the trunks here, except again, like I said, for the back. But you do get that little bit on the boots, which is really nice. So yeah, very simple but very good proportioning. I do like a lot of the wrinkles and little seam lines that they have here. I think it is very well done. The proportions, like I said, a very big buff Superman, but looks really good and actually could fit into more than just one look. Like, it doesn't have to. For me, this is just going to be my definitive Superman, but also because you can take some head swaps from like McFarlane and stuff like that, and because the Superman is so huge, it actually will work. But let's show you what the alternate head sculpt looks like. And there it is, which again, very, very nice. Looks really, really good. And then also for some photography, you can always do it just like this and make Superman look like he's just angry. And I really like how the hair is like a different sculpt, how it's more just brought down and unkept. I think that's a really, really cool touch. So yeah, two very good head sculpts for what they are. I think they did a great job. And then I think we can go into the articulation, because there's not a lot to go over about the detail and stuff like that about this figure. The proportions are good. Everything looks good. The paint is clean. No real problems or anything like that on mine. So you got the S on the back, which is good. So yeah, I think we can just go right into articulation. The head is going to look this high up, which when posing, you're going to want to just look it up a little higher, but it does a good job, and maybe just a little more would have helped, a little more out of the neck. And I think that's what's missing there. And then looking down is really good. You're going to get good side to side here, which is always always the case with Mafex. And then obviously the swivel around, really not loose, but like very soft or smooth articulation. You're going to get the rotation around for the whole arm. Butterfly joints go back this far and forward this far, and then the arm is going to get this high up range. So doing some crossbody here, Superman's definitely going to get a good amount there, which is really nice. And then of course getting that clap, because Superman can technically thunderclap. that can be done here. I did a little posing video if you want to check it out, where I did have him do like a huge thunderclap pose, because I think that's a really cool move for Superman to do. So for the articulation, then you get a bicep swivel, which is good, and then the double jointed elbows, which works nicely, and then the standard ball wrist hinge here, so you can move it however you want. And then for the torso, you're going to get a twist up at the top, which is really nice. You also get the twist at the bottom, which is not too rigid. I know it sounds really like harsh, but it's actually still pretty smooth. It's just going to be tighter on the joint. And then moving back, there is a lot of gappage. You can just do that and close it up. But if you really want that little bit of extra range, then you can. And then using both joints, he's going to crunch this far forward, which is actually pretty good. I'm not going to lie. It can't really go any more forward, and I think that's a pretty good crunch. So then to the side, he's going to go that much to the side. So the side is really good, the back is pretty good, and then that forward crunch is really good as well. So now combined with the leg movement, he kicks this high up. Does he have drop? Yeah, he does have drop down hips, which always makes it kick up just a little higher. Soft diaper piece, so you're going to be able to get that range here. So moving that down with this, I feel like, I know a lot of people must be scared, like, don't do that with your Mafex figure, but there's no paint rub on this guy that's going on. And nothing feels like it's breaking. There's no worry here. That's how much he's really gonna go forward. And I guess you can put him in like a cannonball or like a diving pose, or like a landing. This is how much he's gonna go forward, which is, trust me, it's actually really good for posing. So then kicking out, almost splits, practically splits. Splits, I can't say words. So that's pretty good. You do get the thigh cut that's kind of like minimal, but the more you move it out, the more you're going to be able to get it. But just regularly, it's kind of serviceable. It's like, okay, it's kind of like McFarlane level. Not enough here. They need to cut more out of the butt cheek since it's already covered by the diaper. So then double jointed knees work really nicely here. Not full range. Let's see if you can maybe... Yeah, you can get some. It already just tucks into that little pocket that they always do for the legs there. And then the ankle swivel here, because it's on the ball, so you're going to be able to swivel. It moves this far down, this high up, which I do want more ankle range up. I don't think that's enough. So you do get it up this far, down that far, which is okay. And then the pivot, you're not really going to pivot outward, but you will inward, because I actually do like this. I think it's a good sacrifice. They have this come down here to cover that, like the huge ball, which I do really like. And then the toe articulation is a pretty good amount, and it looks flush, and that's nice how you're supposed to do it. No little ridges or anything like that, so I think that's good. And yeah, that's going to do it for the articulation. And I think it is really well done. Everything is really smooth, as you just saw. Now, like I said before, what I love about this guy is that they didn't lean too hard into the comic aesthetic, so he can fit with your comic figures. And I don't really know about live action, especially when it comes to Mafex, because of how much attention to detail they put in their live action figures, but definitely for your comic figures. So if you have any other DC characters from Mattel, or you have your Marvel Legends, here's how he stands next to the Maximum Spider-Man, because I know they just had a crossover. Here's how he stands next to some of your bigger powerhouse Marvel figures. We have the Astonishing X-Men Colossus from the 2-pack with Kitty Pryde, and the 20th anniversary Toy Biz style Marvel Legends Hulk. And like I said, he is going to be 6-inch, so he's not really going to scale with your Lobo. However, if you wanted to make Lobo a lot bigger than Superman, this could work, but this just makes him look really short and squatty. And here we have him next to the DC Multiverse McFarlane Action Comics 1000 Superman, the new version, the Walmart edition, and the Dark Knight Returns McFarlane DC Multiverse Superman, which, like I said, this fits way more into the comic book style, a lot more than this one. So this one's not really going to do it as the definitive Superman. It is a version of Superman that you can easily tell is from the Dark Knight Returns, which I am still glad that we do have a figure existing that does do that. But as you can see, like I said, this one is just, it's a lot uglier, a lot more just grungier. And yeah, it's And then this one is just an abomination, in my opinion. This is why I say proportions matter, all that stuff matters. So that's how he scales next to these two. And let's see, I'm actually super interested to do this because I think this can still work if he will cooperate. Yes, this is him next to the power suit New 52 Lex Luthor. I think because he's in the power suit, I'll say yeah, because sometimes that thing is huge. So I will say yes, this works for me, and I do like this. I definitely like the more bigger power suit Lex Luthor against a Superman. So this looks good to me. I'm super happy with this. This looks awesome. And this is also a really good figure by McFarlane. And here he stands next to my Kit Bash. Not really a Kit Bash, but just head swapped Lois Lane. This is from the Marvel Legends retro VHS style MJ with the Captain Carter head from the Marvel What If line or wave. So here's how she stands next to him. It was an older Superman, so I wanted to give more of an older style, and this is what I came up with, and I think it works pretty well, in my opinion. Now, they did have a really cool crossover. So here he stands next to the Jack Pacific Superman Knuckles and the Jack Pacific Sonic the Hedgehog 3 movie Knuckles. And here's how he stands next to the Jack Pacific Sonic movie 3 Sonic figure. So what are my final thoughts on this guy? Obviously, no, this guy doesn't come with crypto, but I thought it was a cute accessory to put on top. I'm going to give this figure a 9 out of 10. I think it's really great. The articulation is good. The design, the look, and everything, it captures it really nicely. There's a lot of care put into this figure. There's no real QC issues or anything like that on this guy. The paint is clean, and the aesthetic is great. I really do like this figure. It can work as a Dark Knight Returns Superman or a just your definitive comic Superman or anything like that. And I think this is great. They give the stand, the accessories. I do want to give it higher, but it doesn't come with that head sculpt. But I don't want to bump it down to an 8 out of 10 because I think it is a really good figure and does deliver on a lot of points. But the figure itself, what we do get is really, really good and executed very nicely. So a 9 out of 10 is going to be my rating for this figure, and that's going to be it. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you've enjoyed, please give this video a like, and if you're new, please subscribe and turn on notifications so I can give you the truth on the next one. Thank you guys again for all the support. Love you guys. Spread peace, love, and be greater together.